Hello friends, it's Simone. I'm here to share my February currently inked review with you today. And in short, this was a really good month for me regarding the pen and ink combinations that I picked. I felt like I enjoyed all of the writing experiences that I had. Some were better, some were worse, but the bad ones were not as bad that I had to unink them or that I didn't feel comfortable with them. They were just not as great as the ones that were on top. But every pen performed really well. I have some thoughts, and I think that's what I'm going to go through with you today. I had a really good color palette picked through my Project Inkdown. I'm really enjoying this because it makes me pick inks that I usually would glance over or, forego for a different ink that maybe is a little bit brighter, isn't the manufacturer, doesn't have shimmer, things like that. I only had 2 shimmer inks in this lineup, so this was for an 8 pen lineup. I think that's a good outcome. Is that 20%? I'm not sure. 25? No, I'm completely confused. You do the math and I'll tell you about the pens. And I have actually decided that instead of moving over some pens that might still work and that are really nice, I would give myself the opportunity to experience quite a few new pens and inks. And that's why I am going to review 6 pens, and I'm going to move over to the month of March. I'm going to go and open my ink journal right here, and then we're just going to look at them in the order that I created these pages. Every time I pick up a pen and I haven't made a page in my ink journal after my writing experience, that's the next step. I'm just going to write the title, the brand, what is the pen, what model is it, what nib size, what color, and then what ink have I used. And then every time I use it, I write something underneath. So of course, on the top is the very first impression, and then the further I go, if I move it along to the next month, I will just add whatever thoughts I have. So the Pilot Custom 823 in amber with a medium 14 karat gold nib was inked with Diamine Walnut. And this is one of the most comfortable pens I own. And so in my basically conclusion of all of the things that I scribbled up here, I gave the ink, the flow, as well as the comfort level, all a 10. Not just was this pen comfortable. The ink is the first dark brown ink that I really truly enjoy. And the flow was just perfect. These two worked really well together. It felt smooth, but not uncontrollable, and so I was really happy with this, and I gravitated towards this pen quite a bit. Even after it's sitting for quite a while, I didn't really have many hard starts. I don't think I wrote with this for almost a month here when I was dried up on January 27th. But then after that, and today when I'm filming this, is March 9th. Since then, it has not dried up or anything else. Interestingly enough, the paper that I'm working on in my ink journal is Cosmo Air Light paper. And all of my pens write really well on this. Most of them even better than on the papers that I use otherwise. So I use Sanzen Tomoe River paper for my letters most of the time. And I finally switched away from the really weird lightweight paper from super lightweight paper from Traveler's Company to a regular MD notebook paper insert. Let me quickly check if I have an entry that I can show you. I haven't written much within this journal. I'm not journaling a lot lately. Most of the ink use that I have is writing notes and pen pal letters to friends. Even those are very rare. The next pen that I had inked, this is also a carryover from January, is the Esterbrook SD in Scarlet. This is really going up there to the top of my favorite SD colors. And I had put in a Jowo, I think it's called Fine Flex or Elastic Nib. This is a special engraving on top here made by Shibui North. It's a fine, I said that it was inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Tsutsuji. And this combination was weird. The ink is bold and I love how loud it is. I would buy a bottle of this ink in a heartbeat. However, this ink just gushed out of the nib. And I'm not sure if this is because it's a different kind of fine nib. It didn't feel like a fine nib at all. And it just basically dumped onto the paper. And so I gave it actually an 8 because it was almost too wet at times. And then the comfort level is a 9. It's definitely not as comfortable as the Custom 823, but it's really, really close. And then this was a surprise because I had used J. Urbain Emeraude. There is an E here. De Chivroir before, and I never felt as enamored with this ink as I did in this go round. This is another Esterbrook SD. I put my Franklin Christoph Sig medium nib in here. The colorway is Sea Glass and it has the gold trim, as you can see. And the ink, as I said, is J. Urbain Emeraude de Chivroir. I gave this another 10, 10, 10 because I just did not expect this ink to be one of my favorites. It was so well behaved in this nib, in this pen. The flow of the ink in this pen was amazing. It wrote every time I used it. It felt smooth but not uncontrollable, as I complained just with the Tsutsuji when it was so wet that it just felt, I'm not sure if this is good. This was perfect. And then I gave the comfort level a 10 because, again, this is an SD. It's awesome, but also with this nib, this comfort, this was just awesome. I don't even know how to say this, but this was an awesome combination. As you can see, every time I write the name of the ink, I try to leave space, so leave holes in my writing so I can use a water brush and activate the ink so I get kind of a chromatography here. I think the Cosmo Air Light isn't as suitable for this experiment as, for instance, there you can see a light pink here, as for instance Tomoe River paper, but it's still, you can still see some colors. And I just like it, you know, so I continue doing it, even though I was hoping to learn a little bit more about the inks as I do. Then I had this combination. This is my birthday pen, the Scribo Feel in Mosto. with a medium 18 karat gold nib. This has also an ebonite feed. Also, like on top of all of this, it also has an ebonite feed. I inked it with Wearingool Floating Clouds, and that was an experiment. I don't necessarily enjoy these colors. For the color, I enjoyed it well. However, I am going to unink this so I can ink it with a different color in March. The ink I gave a 5. As expected, I wasn't the biggest fan of the color. The shading of the color, however, is phenomenal. And I think putting it in this pen was my best choice because it was still wet enough to flow well. That's why I gave the flow an 8, because it had good and consistent flow. However, it was trending towards dry. And then comfort level, this was definitely eyeballing. Like, you know, I was taking a risk with this pen, but I am really happy to report that this grip section is wide enough. It feels very comfortable because it is faceted. It doesn't slide in your hand, and then it sits just really nicely in the crook of my hand. And so I am amazed. I do have to say that sometimes when I start writing, it is darker than it usually is. So I'm not sure if this is because of the cap. There is no inner cap in here, or how I need to just need to pay attention, especially in the summer. I need to figure out if this works for where I live. The next pen that I had inked was the Pilot Vanishing Point with a stub nib or SU nib. The barrel color is deep yellow. I had inked it with Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukiyo, and I am borrowing this nib from my friend Nikki, and she offered to sell it to me, and that's why I tried it. So here is what I felt. The ink, I gave a 9. This is just an amazing color. The flow it flowed okay, but this is a Pilot Vanishing Point, and so if I don't use this often enough, even with a Pilot Iroshizuku ink, it will have hard starts, especially with a stub nib. I feel like these are definitely prone to be hard starting when they're not used often enough, and so I gave it an 8. Because I had a couple hard starts, and I think the characteristic of the nib, that it is so slicey, shouldn't really be considered in the flow rating. I didn't know where else to put it. I'm really torn. I really enjoy the width of this stub nib. Especially on the Cosmo Aerolite paper, it worked really well. On all the other papers, the edges right here and here were so slicey that I always felt like I would be damaging the paper. And it's really tough because, as I said, I liked it on this paper. I like the width of this stub nib, but if I would keep this, I would probably have to have it tuned so that it would be more like a cursive smooth italic, or an actual stub nib with rounded edges instead of being so slicey that it almost feels like an italic nib. So I just don't know if I should change this nib, but I mean, I have other nibs tuned to my liking. Why am I so hesitant to have this one tuned? I don't know. I feel like it would be something that you don't do. Like, people don't do this, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that. And then I also, because this is not mine. I would have to invest in the nib and then in the smoothing and tuning by a nibmeister. So I'm not sure if that is really worth the expense on my end. So it was nice using it and trying it out, but I don't think I will keep this nib and purchase it. And then the very last pen and ink combination for this month was the Lamy LX with a medium nib in marron. I had it inked with Robert Oster Melon Tea. This ink sample was given to me by my friend Amy ages ago, and she said she loved this ink. I always skipped over it because, first of all, is a Robert Oster ink, and my experience with Robert Oster inks have not been great. Most of them were dry. Maybe I always put them in the wrong pen. That is definitely possible. But this time around, I was extremely surprised. This was a really wet experience. I gave the ink a 9. I didn't give it a 10 because when it dries, there's this green hue. I think this is supposed to be an olivey green brownish color, swamp goblin color. But sometimes when I looked at it, it was odd. And so I gave it a 9. The flow was just, wow. It flowed really well out of this pen. I never felt like I wasn't able to control it though. And so this was really good. I just didn't expect it from this pen and ink combination because, as I said, in the past, every time I put a Robert Oster ink in a Lamy, it wasn't the greatest experience at all. And usually before, most of the time, my Lamy nibs are on the drier side, or at least that's how it was. It doesn't seem like that is the case anymore. So I don't know. The comfort level, I only gave it an 8 only. I mean, from 1 to 10, with 10 the best. 8 is still pretty good. This pen feels like home. I feel like I say this all the time. I used a Lamy Safari all through high school. So this feels like home. The grip section is just a tiny bit too narrow, and that's why I gave it an 8. But it's still really comfortable because it evokes this home feeling for me. Let's categorize the inks. So, ink bottles that I would totally buy is Pilot Iroshizuku Tsutsuji. I do have a bottle of Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukiyo. I would purchase Waterman Inspired Blue. And I have to tell you, if you watched my Waterman Inspired Blue video, I actually did buy a bottle of it. Inspired Blue. I would totally buy, no hesitation, not even have to try again. Emerald Rode de Chivoire. I guess I can actually correct that here pretty easily. Even though I really enjoy this ink, but I would probably not buy a bottle of Diamine Fortunes Gold. Oh, I don't even have to. Oh no, it's fine. These inks will not be Fortune's Gold. I will give away all the samples that I'm not moving over to the next month, but this and this are both being moved over to March. So yeah. And then I would probably put Robert Oster Melon Tea on the Try Again, because I just don't trust it enough to purchase a bottle of ink from that one experience. And then lastly, I would absolutely and totally buy a bottle of Diamine Walnut. Let's see if once this bigger Inkvent sample is gone, if I still feel the same way. Usually they come out with the 50 milliliter bottles of Inkvent inks during the late spring, which I won't be able to use it up, but then they are in the regular lineup and then I would be able to purchase it at a future date. Of course, all of these I am not really buying. I'm just, if I were buying inks, then these were bottles, these were, I have to try the sample again, and these I would not purchase at all. So, let's rank not just the inks, but also the pens this month. Is this all of them? Yes. So I think this one is top. This one is best. And this one, yeah. So I think if I were to rank them, then because of the ink color in here, this is my highest one. Because it just, maybe these two together were just so amazing. I always wanted to use those. Every time I picked this one up, I was super surprised. This was so comfortable, and also had a great flow that it made up for the color of the ink that was inside here. This was just a little bit too wet. And I also just did not understand what the sense of a super stiff, flexible steel nib's supposed to be. Why is it then flexible? Or maybe I'm just a chicken and I'm not pushing enough. That could be the same thing. And then this one was unfortunately just way too slicey. And so when I used it on most of the paper, it felt really uncomfortable most of the time. So that's it. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope it was short enough. Besides the ink samples, let me check which ones I am. Oops. So I am moving on this and this. Then I am always keeping the ink bottles of my Inkvent calendar, unless it's an ink that I would not want to use again. So I am giving away these 4 samples. Pilot Iroshizuku Tsutsuji, Waringoul Floating Cloud, Jeoban Emerald of Chivoire, Robert Oster Melon Tea, as well as, there's nothing in here, but I will put something in here. This Kaweco Sport, I will include some ink cartridges as well. In Natural Coconut is the colorway. It has a double broad nib, and I am just not gravitating towards this pen. I am not choosing it unless I'm making myself choose it, and so I decided that it's time to pass it along to someone else who will use it. I'm going to include some ink cartridges, also colored ink cartridges from Kaweco, plus a clear ink miser. This is, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I really like the clear one. I was recently given this by a friend and I have a clear one. And so I decided, you know what? There's probably someone out there who doesn't know about this yet. And that's what is going to be included in this month's currently inked review giveaway. So these, plus some ink samples. If you are interested in receiving this and you're within the United States, then I would highly encourage you to fill out my form. I am just using that form for giveaways. If you have entered it in the past, in 2024, there's no need for you to enter again. Once you signed up, you are entered in all the future giveaways. When I'm picking a winner, which is 1 week from today, I will reach out to you via email, and if I don't hear back from you within 48 hours, I will forego your entry and pick another winner. I am not, I don't have enough time right now to give to chase down people who get stuff for free, and so I'm going to reach out once. If you're not reacting within those 48 hours, I'm moving on to the next person. Yeah, it sounds really weird and odd. It sounded more strongly worded than it's supposed to be, but yeah, I'm stressed by my puppy most of the time. But he has become a lot chiller. But I'm alone this weekend, so yeah, stressful 2 days, and sometimes relaxed. But most of the time when he's sleeping, I'm doing like the essential stuff, like when you do with a baby, like, oh, he's sleeping, I should go take a shower, and then the time that I have to film a video, I am also holding on to the leash so that he's not going to wreck my studio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time with my currently inked for March. And I'm going to unink my pens right away so that I can ink them up as soon as possible. Bye bye.